Hi. My name is Cher Thomas, and I'm here to talk to you about one of my most favorite subjects on earth, Disneyland. Now, of course, I'm a plus size woman. I am about a size 4XL. When the last time I went to the parks, I lost a little bit of weight, not a lot, but this is my experience as a plus size woman riding the different rides and attractions at Disneyland's park. So, this is the main Disneyland. First things first, Alice in Wonderland. Yes, I can totally ride that. If you need a little bit of extra time getting in or getting out, or getting into the ride, you can go through the exit and you can ask for a couple of moments. They'll let the person off, and then you can take your time getting on, and then you can go ahead and go through the ride. The bar totally closes for me, and I didn't have any problems nor issues whatsoever. My cousin was able to sit next to me, and we fit perfectly well. My cousin is about a size 16, size 18 in a woman's, and which is like extra large t-shirt size, and we were totally fine. The Astro Orbiter, which is found in Tomorrowland. No. Let me explain why. Okay, so the Astro Orbiter, the rides themselves, it's at an angle. It's kind of like at this weird angle, and I tried to get on it, and I stood in that line, and then the the cast members were like, okay, sit on the top of it, put your legs over, get your legs inside of the compartment, and then sit down. And then we'll go. And I was like, all right, let me try it. It was at such a weird angle that I felt like I was going to break my legs. And I did everything the cast member said, and it just wasn't going to happen. They even suggested that I tilt my hips to the side and then sit down. They're like, it's kind of like a weird twist and turn. And I was like, okay, let me try it. No, it didn't work. It wasn't happening. No way, no how. I would say if you're like a 2XL t-shirt or smaller, you'll be just fine. But as 3, 4XL, no go. We're just gonna have to sit that one out. Okay, I'm sorry, girl. Alrighty. Autotopia, which is also in Tomorrowland. Yes, I could totally ride that. I did have to ride it by myself, and there's enough room for an adult and a child, but as a plus size woman, I definitely had to ride it solo. And it was comfortable. It was like a little awkward because like you're kind of like just sitting in the center as opposed to one side, but it wasn't difficult. I needed a couple of extra seconds to get in and get out, but it wasn't this terrible experience. And so, if you are a plus size woman, you can definitely fit. So don't worry. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad found in Frontierland. Yes. I totally ride this ride. I love this ride. This is one of my favorite rides ever. Definitely get a fast pass. It's totally worth it. And ride it around when Phantasmic is showing, and there will be like virtually no line. Yes, I could fit in it, and I could also sit next to my cousin, who is also who wears an extra large T-shirt, and I wear like at the time I wore a 4X, and I totally fit. Don't worry about it. Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. Yes, I could fit on that. It wasn't a problem at all. It was like a little uncomfortable, like it was just like a little too cramped up on me, but it wasn't. It was bearable. It wasn't the most comfortable thing, but I would say like if you're like a 3XL or smaller, you'll be just fine. It's when you get into like the 4XL or bigger that it becomes a little bit more uncomfortable. I definitely would not recommend it for anybody who is bigger than a 6XL. Okay. Casey Jr. Circus Train found in Fantasyland. I haven't rode this as an adult, but when I look at it, it looks like it'll be fine. There's room in these compartments. There's supposed to be like the circus train going to town. You're probably gonna have to sit on one side by yourself of the stagecoach with the little box cars, and then other people are gonna have to sit, across the way from you. So if you have kids, throw them in front, and you can just go ahead and sit in the back, or you can sit on one side and then have everybody else on the other side. It might be a little difficult getting in and out of that door. I can see that kind of being an issue, but other than that, it seems like it'll be just fine. Chippendale's Treehouse found in Mickey's Toontown. Well, it's not a ride. It's like a cool little place where it's like a jungle gym kind of thing. And as a plus size woman, yes, I could totally walk in there and I could climb a little bit. I can't do the whole shebang bang like all the other kids can do, but I mean, yeah, you can watch your kids. You can go in there. It's not too difficult, but don't expect to be doing the most. Um, let's see. Davy Crockett's Explorer canoes found in Critter Country. No. No, those canoes actually have a pretty low weight limit. I believe it's like 200 pounds at the most. And I also like you're gonna have to row like when you ride. Oh, knocking everything over. When you get on the canoes, you have to like canoe and paddle yourself, and that can be a little bit daunting as a plus size woman, especially if you have like really big upper arms and not all the upper body strength in the world. I definitely wouldn't recommend it for anybody who is an extra large or bigger. You might be over the weight limit. I definitely saw taller people getting kicked off that ride. And I also saw people who were much smaller than me not be able to do it. So I wouldn't recommend that for the plus size women. I'm so sorry. Let's see. The Disneyland monorail found in Tomorrowland, between Tomorrowland and downtown Disney. Yes, there is no problem whatsoever with riding the monorail. There's no seats. Well, there are seats, but they're not, confined in any way. There's no weight limit whatsoever. You'll be just fine. Don't worry about it. The Disneyland Railroad, which is goes around the park. Yes, I love that ride. It's one of my favorite rides. I like to just, jump on and, grab a drink and grab a pretzel and just go around the park. It's a relaxing ride. And yes, I could definitely ride it as a plus size woman. There's no problem. There's benches and you can just slide wherever, jump in where you fit in, girl. You'll be just fine. The Disneyland Story presenting great moments with Mr. Lincoln found in mainstream USA. Yes, I could fit in there. However, it was a little tight, like it was just a little too tight for me. And it was just like, okay, like you sit in there, you sit in the seats and it kind of encroaches upon your hips. It kind of squishes the hips in a little bit, especially if you got a big booty like me. It can be a little bit of a problem. They do have some chairs that you can ask for, but I noticed they only had one. And by the time I got into the theater, that one seat was already taken by somebody who was like a little bit, like a little bit older than me. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to say anything. But it wasn't the most comfortable seating ever. If you ever go into, it's like a regular theater seat. So if however you fit in a regular seat in the theaters, not the movie theaters, but like an older Orpheum type theater, like a play. You know what I'm talking about? That's kind of how it is. And I would say if you're like a 4X or smaller, you'll be fine. If you're over the 4X, you're definitely going to need that extra seat. But other than that, it's a pretty good show. Like it's kind of tripped out. Like Lincoln is a robot, it's kind of cool. Okay, Donald's boat found in Mickey's Toontown. Yeah, it's the same thing as a Chippendale Treehouse. It's basically like a jungle gym, and yeah, plus size woman, you definitely go in there, hang out, watch your kids, no problem, no muss, no fuss. Uh, Finding Nemo submarine voyage found in Tomorrowland. Ooh, okay. I don't like this ride. Okay. So when I saw it, I was just like, "Oh, girl, I don't know." Oh, girl, I don't know. And because it looks so small, and it like especially the porthole when you go in, like to go into the submarine itself, I was like, "Oh, there's no way I'm gonna fit in this thing," and I did. I did fit into it. I could sit down. However, those seats are so narrow. Like I was spilling over. My hips were just nuts and crazy. It was very uncomfortable, but it was doable, but it was uncomfortable. And we also had to have like the seat next to me had to be empty because I was basically encroaching upon the seat next to me. And it was a little it wasn't the most comfortable thing, and it's kind of a lame ride to begin with. So if you're a plus size woman, unless your kid is just dying to look at Nemo, I'd say skip it. But if you really are worried about fitting, you will fit, but you're not going to fit comfortably. That's kind of what I want to say, because there's the seats, and then there's these metal bars in between each of the seats, and that is going to, ooh, it's going to do a number on the hips and on the booty. But if you can power through it, it's not a long ride, you can power through it. Frontierland Shooting Explosion and Frontierland. Yeah, that's not a ride. It's just guns. You just stand there. You're fine. Gadgets Go Coaster for Mickey's Toontown. No. No. That ride is not going to work. I saw women who were smaller than me getting kicked off that ride, and we were in line for it. And I was seeing, like, women who were like maybe a 2XL, and I was just like, and they were getting kicked off, and I was like, oh no. Oh, this is not going to work for us. And I'm like, let's just get out of line. Let me just take myself out of line, because I think if you're 2XL or smaller, you'll be just fine. But if you're over 2XL, no, it's not going to work. And I kind of felt bad, because I was like, oh man, it's like a cute little roller coaster. It'd be definitely a cute moment with your kid. But no, if you're over 2XL, don't even try it, because they will kick you right on off. Goofy's Playhouse, also at Mickey's Toontown. Same thing. It's well, it's not the same thing as a Gadget Go coaster, but it's the same thing as the Donald boat and the Chippendale Treehouse. It's like a jungle gym that people can climb and have fun on. As a plus size woman, you can definitely go inside. You can look around. You really can't play like all the kids, but you're not going to have any problems. Haunted Mansion, found in New Orleans Square. Yes. I can totally fit this ride. I love this ride. It's one of my favorite rides at the park. And the Doom buggies are on its own conveyor belt, and you do have to like kind of walk up to it and get in. If you need an extra moment or two, let a cast member know. They can pause the entire ride and get in, and then go on. The one thing is that because it's on one big conveyor belt, when they stop the ride for you, they stop the ride for everybody else. And what I want to say is, don't worry about it. It's a part of sharing the park with other people. There's people of different mobility issues, and people with, different needs. Don't worry about it. Also, if you have a hard time standing, let a cast member know. And you can go up to where the umbrellas are. You can ask for a return time, let them know, like, hey, my knees are not going to take this 2-hour long standing. I want to ride. What can we do? And they'll give you a return time, or they'll tell you to go to City Hall and ask for a pass, which would then enable you to get return times. So it's entirely up to you, but Fast Pass is probably the best way to go for the Haunted Mansion. But it's definitely a really great ride. I had no problems fitting whatsoever. When you sit down, the ride closes on you, and it just locks automatically. So don't worry about it. Indiana Jones Adventure, found in Adventureland. Yes, I can ride this ride. Let's talk about Indiana Jones, shall we? Okay, so this is what I want to say about Indy. I love that ride. I have been kicked off that ride, and this is why. It was because I was sitting in the wrong seat. And so if you are, oh gosh, I don't know, I would say like bigger than like a 3XL, like if you're worried, like if you've ever been like kicked off of a ride at the fair or something like that, let me give you some advice. The way that the Indiana Jones ride is that the seatbelt, okay, there's a platform. Now, whichever side Jeep you're on, the one that's closest to the platform, in the very, very back row that's closest to the platform, is the largest seat in the Jeep. That's one thing. And that's so important for me to emphasize. And so you really should ask to sit in that row, and then just kind of like wait and let everybody else get on the ride first, and then you could be the last one. And the way that these seatbelts are done is that they are long. They are so long, especially that back seat, that last row back seat close to the platform. That seatbelt is so long, because this is what, because you are supposed to stand, pull the seatbelt all the way around, click it, and then sit. And that's what you're supposed to do when you get on Indiana Jones. It is so much easier. It's about the same size as like, it's much, much longer than like an airport extension seatbelt type thing. If you need an extender on the seatbelt when you go on a plane, you're definitely going to need to utilize the stand, click, and then sit method. Also, that seat also, opens. It opens like a car door. And if you need an extra moment, if you need that extra attention, you can let the cast member know, like, hey, I'm a little worried. Can I sit in the seat? Can you open the Jeep door for me? And they'll definitely do it for you. So just remember to stand, click, and then sit. And if you need, you can have the cast member close the door on you. Now, one thing that's also going to happen is that everybody's going to look at the podium. There's a podium before you go on the ride, before they kind of slap the Jeep and you go. There's going to be a podium, and that podium has different lights. Now, what that is doing is it is calibrating the weight of the Jeep and everybody in it. And if the light is green, if the light is flashing green, or even if it's yellow, you can go ahead and go. If it's flashing red, that means there's no way you can ride that ride. However, it takes a lot. That's what I'm going to say. I've always had it flash green, and I was 420 pounds when I rode that ride. So I want you to not be very worried about that. Like, you're definitely going to have to be bigger than like a 5XL or something like that in order to get really kicked off that ride, unless you are sitting in a different compartment or a different row. So when you ride that ride, back seat, close to the platform, stand, click, and then sit. And then watch the podium. It's a Small World, found in Fantasyland. Yes, I love that ride. That ride is so cool. It can be a little bit of a long wait. I definitely would recommend a fast pass for that. I hate the stairs after you get off of it. Oh, it's the worst. So what I do is I let the cast members know, like, yo, I cannot do stairs. Please don't make me do stairs. Like, it's not going to work out very well for all of us. And so what they do is they will have me go through, or they'll move the boat to the right. And usually there's like a marker, or there's some kind of way that they identify the boat. And then they usually shift us off to the right, and then I can go through that side. And I don't have to go through the stairs. You just got to let a cast member know, and you'll be just fine. The Jungle Cruise, found in Adventureland. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay. So the Jungle Cruise is famous for a couple of things. One is that I believe it was Billy Crystal or somebody like that who used to be one of the tour guides, like the safari guides on the boat. And so, deadpan humor, it's really cool. The second thing that the Jungle Cruise is famous for is what's called the Disney booty jump. Now, let me explain. So there's these turnstiles that you have to go through in order to get on the ride. Now, there's two ways to handle this. If you are over a 4XL, you really should go through the handicap side, which is the exit, which is between the, I believe it's like the building that houses the line for the Jungle Cruise, and between this restaurant that serves bows. And it looks like a platform. It's where you usually would exit the ride. Now, you can wait there, and then you can be led on to the boats there, and then you can go ahead and then they'll let everybody else on. But if you're under a 4XL and you want to try the Disney booty jump, this is what you do. So that turnstile is so narrow that even if you were like a slimmer woman, if you just got a big booty, big hips, you're gonna have to do this. So what you do is you turn to the side. Okay, so there's the turnstile. Hold on, let me see if I can use my makeup to fix this. All right, so there's a turnstile, and then you go through it like that. Okay, so what you should do is when you go through the turnstile, you jump. So when you jump, the turnstile is threading through your hips or your knees or your thighs, which is a lot more narrow than your booty. So you get to do the whole little Disney booty jump, and then you can get onto the ride. And so the Jungle Cruise is super famous for that. You see girls doing booty jumps all day long, every day. Even if there are a slimmer woman, I definitely have to do the Disney booty jump or the Disney booty bounce in order to get through the turnstile in order to ride the ride. But once you do the Disney booty bounce, you're just fine. Don't worry about it. It's kind of a cute little Disney tradition. If you're not up for the Disney booty bounce, just go ahead and go through the handicap entrance, which is the exit of the ride, and you'll be just fine. The King Arthur carousel found in Fantasyland. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, I do know a few former castmates at Disney, and they always say, and I always ask, like, so, um, what do you do when big girls get on, when plus size women get on these horses? And they say, like, and I could just read their body language sometimes, because sometimes they're just like, oh no. Oh no. Let's just see what happens. And they just hit the button like, oh. And the ride will revolve once, twice, done. Because those horses are worth so much money, and they cannot risk breaking one of them because some big girl decided to jump on a horse and thought it was going to be cute. And so if you're a plus size woman and you get on that ride, you get on the carousel and you ride one of the horses, be prepared for that ride to be very short, because those cast members are literally just going to revolve it twice and let you off, because they can't risk, like, I think those horses are like $80,000 or something like that. So they're not going to risk it for you. So this is what I recommend. Ride it. Feel free, get on. But sit in the bench. And that's what I do. I sit on the bench, and it's just fine. There's no muss, there's no fuss. Nobody has issues. And you get to just kind of sit and chill. You may not go up and down like the carousel horses are, but at least then you're not cheating everybody else who stood in line and been getting like caught up in a shorter ride. So at least they can extend the ride longer if you sit in the bench. So just sit in the bench, girl. It's gonna be fine. Okay, the Mad Tea Party, also found in Fantasyland. Yes, I ride that. I totally ride that. I love that ride. I do need somebody like exactly the opposite side of me, just so the balance is a little bit more even. And it does kind of hit my tummy. It kind of does. I'm not gonna lie, it does hit my tummy, but you just kind of like gotta suck it in and just keep turning, and then it's just fine. Let's see. The Main Street vehicles found in Main Street. Yes, I ride those all the time. They're just fun. I really like the double decker bus. That's my favorite. Also, if you ride, I think it's the some of them give you stickers, so that's kind of cool. But yes, I ride them. That's the quickest, easiest, safest way to get through Main Street when you first enter the park in the morning. The Many Adventures of Winnie Pooh, found in Critter Country. Yes, I love that ride. That ride is really cute. It's really chill. It's really laid back. It's not a terrible, crazy, chaotic ride, especially as chaotic as the Splash Mountain right across the way from it. But it's a really chill, kick back little kid ride, and you can definitely fit it. Me and my cousin were able to sit next to each other. She's a size extra large, and I at the time I wore a 4XL t-shirt, and we could sit next to each other, no muss, no fuss, bar closed, good to go. The Mark Twain Riverboat, found in Frontierland. Yes, I do ride that. I love that ride. Well, it's not a ride; it's a boat ride. But there's chairs you can sit down in, and the chairs don't have arms, so you can, it's not a problem whatsoever. And it's also on the bottom floor when you first walk in. Just hang a left to the front of the boat, and you can just sit in a chair and just chill and just watch nature go by. And it's a really cool ride. The Matterhorn bobsleds, found in Fantasyland. Yes, I do ride that. There is a couple of things though. Couple of things. First of all, I've always needed help with the seatbelt. I do the stand, the stand, click, and then sit method. I do try to do that, but I always wind up needing help from the cast members. And the cast members, I mean, they get in there. They're just like, like, you gonna ride this ride, girl. Another tip is to sit in seat number 4. I believe it's number 4 or number 5. I believe it's number 5, because there's 2 bobsleds connected together, and each of those bobsleds have 4 different seats. Now, the very front one, and the second bobsled is the largest seat, and it's also the widest seat, and it's made for plus size people. There's even 2 doors. Like, all the other doors are just one. like all of them, and then there's the two. And so that's really the best place to sit. You can ask to be placed in seat number 5, and they'll totally do it. Not that big of a deal. Or you can also trade. I've done that before, where I traded with somebody like, hey, can we trade spots, because I really should be sitting there. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, and you can just go and sit down. It's a little bit of an uncomfortable. It's okay. What makes the bobsleds uncomfortable is that I get stared at a lot. Like that's what makes that ride uncomfortable, is like other people are like, is this chick on a fit? And I'm always like, yes, give me a minute. And but I guess it's a more of a social factor as opposed to the mechanics of the actual ride. But like I said, I always need help with the seatbelt. The cast member definitely will do it. They'll definitely just jam their arms up in there. Don't worry about it. Don't have no shame. The quicker the better. Let's just get this seatbelt in, and let's just keep it moving. And I enjoy the ride. And it's a good ride. I know that a lot of plus size people worry about the bobsleds. Do not worry about it. It is definitely a stand, click, and then sit ride. You also can ask the cast members for assistance, and you'll be just fine. If you need an extra amount of time, the whole platform will move back towards the mountain, and then the next sled can go. And so if you need a little bit of extra time to do your seatbelt, they can move the entire sled out, and then you can do your seatbelt, move it back in, and then away you go. It's actually a pretty cool ride. Let's see. The Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. I don't know. That's the new one at Galaxy Edge. Yeah, Star Wars Galaxy Edge. I don't know. I heard that it has a pretty high weight limit. Like, I want to say like 450 pounds or something like that. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true. I definitely want to check it out to let you know. If anybody out there knows the plus size experience on that ride, please let me know, because I'm dying to find out. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Yes, I could totally ride that. That was not a problem to ride. The bar closed. Everything was just fine. Me and my cousin could sit in the same car next to each other. At the time, I was a 4XL, and she was an extra large, and we were just fine. Peter Pan's Flight. Yes, I could totally ride that. The line for that is pretty atrocious. So what I do is I let them know, like, hey, I can't stand for that long a period of time. Can I please have a return time? They usually accommodate me within the next 15, 20 minutes, and then you just kind of walk away, come back, and then you get to cut in line. I know that you really shouldn't abuse that. If you have serious mobility issues, that's what it's made for. Go to City Hall first, and to get a pass in order to have that opportunity to ask for return times in Fantasyland, which is separate from a max pass or a fast pass. It's on a different system. Like, they'll still click your ticket, they'll still click your mobile app, but it's separate from fast passes. So that's kind of a weird distinction that needs to be made. Pinocchio's Daring Journey. That's also found at Fantasyland. Yes, I can ride that. I have rode it. It's not the most comfortable. I like to sit in that one by myself, and then somebody else can sit behind me, or vice versa. But it's not the most comfortable ride ever, but it's definitely doable. You do have to sit by yourself, or have a really small kid next to you. Let's see. Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, I love that ride. That ride is so cool. It's a fun ride. It's a boat ride. You just run in, sit down. If you need an extra little bit of time, let them know. You also can use that. You can also do a return time on Pirates, but you have to go to the exit. That's where you have to. That's where you'll enter for your return time, and that's also where you ask for your return time. Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, and that's found in Mickey's Toontown. Yes, I can ride that. It's a little tight. It's a little, but it's not horrible. It's definitely doable. But yeah, I sat with my cousin. We were sitting next to each other. We were just fine. A Sailing Ship Columbia Frontierland. I haven't rode that one. However, when I look at it, it looks like it's pretty easy. You just stand there. It looks like, I've seen people bigger than me get on that ride, and they're just fine. Let's see. Splash Mountain. Yes, that's the big girl favorite. Just one little quick tip: bring a Ziploc bag, throw your cell phone, throw your electronics in, and you'll be just fine. Maybe switch out your shoes, have dry socks with you, because nothing is worse than walking around Disneyland with wet socks. Ah. Star Tours, the adventures continue, and that's found at Tomorrowland. Yes, I love that ride. For that ride, I do have to sit in the very, very, very front row on the far left side because that is the bigger seat, and that also has a much longer seatbelt. And the same thing, stand, pull the seatbelt, click it, and then sit down. And also that opens and closes on its side also. I've only needed them to do it once, and I was probably about 450 pounds when I did that. That was the only time I ever really needed it. The last time I went, I was about 420 pounds at the time, and that's I didn't need them to open that side door. I was able to just, stand, click, and sit, and it was just fine. However, sitting anywhere else except for that one particular seat is really uncomfortable. So I'm going to say if you're like a 4XL, 3XL or bigger, you're definitely going to need to sit in the front, very, very front row, far left side. You're definitely going to need to do that. Any other seating, I'm going to say you're probably going to have to be like a 3XL or smaller to fit comfortably in it. Let's see. Star Wars Launch Bay, which is also found at Tomorrowland. I don't think I've done that one. I don't really know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Storybook Land Canal Boats, which is found at Fantasyland. Yes, I could write that. That is definitely a Disney Booty Bounce ride. There is a turnstile. It's very, very, very narrow. It is so narrow. It's not as narrow as Jungle Cruise, but it's still pretty narrow. You're definitely gonna have to like put your hands on the turnstile or on the, I guess I don't know, the pedestal, the podium next to the turnstile. I don't know, but you definitely have to put your hands on that or on the railing and do your little booty bounce, and then and then go through the turnstile, and then you'll be just fine. Even smaller people, like people who are of average weight, they also have to do the Disney booty bounce. It's just part of the game. But once you get on the boat, it's no muss, no fuss. You can sit anywhere you want. You'll be just fine. Don't worry about it. Tarzan's treehouse found in Adventureland. Yes and no. Like physically, yes, it's possible. However, I've seen so many plus size people go in the treehouse and get stuck because it's intense. There's a lot of running, a lot of climbing, a lot of walking. It takes a lot of mobility to go through the treehouse in its entirety, and there's lots of stairs. There's lots of climbing. If you're not up for that, don't go on it. If you're not extremely mobile, don't do it. That's regardless of your size. Yeah, but physically speaking, yes, I can fit through it. Yes, I have gone through it at my heaviest, which was 455. Yes, I can physically do it, but it was daunting. It was a little difficult, especially those stairs. Just think about that before you decide whether or not you want to go on Tarzan's treehouse. Let's see. Space Mountain. Okay, yes. I can totally ride Space Mountain. I love Space Mountain. Space Mountain's a really fun ride for me. The same thing there is that I believe it's the middle seat, which I want to say is number 4. I've also sat in the very front. I did have to ask like one of the castmates, like, do you think I can fit on this? And they're like, oh yeah, you'll be fine. It's definitely a stand, click, and sit, and I was able to sit with my cousin. He's a little kid, and we were just fine. I wouldn't recommend having somebody larger than a small child with you if you're a plus size person, but you can definitely ride it. And I did need some help with the seatbelt, but it wasn't too terrible. It was just fine, and it worked out pretty well for me. And that seems to be all of the rides at Disneyland. What I want to remind you all is that the Disneyland parks have been refurbished and years ago, and so they're a little bit more plus size friendly. So the best way to do it is just to give it a try. And if you need a little bit extra time, to ask for the extra time. If you have some mobility issues, like how I do, I have issues with my knees, I can't do stairs to save my life, just go to City Hall, ask for, I believe it was an ADA pass, and then they'll give that to you, and you don't have to stand in line forever. You can work stuff out with the cast members, and I think you'll be just fine. So, as a plus size woman, I was a 4XL. I was 455 pounds at my heaviest, and those are the rides that I was able to ride. If you are smaller than me, don't worry. Just go ahead and have fun. But remember that a lot of the rides with the seatbelts are, you're supposed to stand, and then you're supposed to click it, and then you're supposed to sit down. And some of the other ones you can ask for a little bit extra time, and you'll be just fine. I hope you have a great time at Disney. Disney's one of my favorite places on earth. It's the happiest place on earth, and it's definitely one of my favorite places. And I hope you have a great time. Let me know if you have any other questions, and if there's anything else you want to know about the plus size perspective. I hope you guys have a great night.